And so there's just some things that go on with the priority. There's more to come. We're probably going to we will do a red clay record the first week of February, dedicated a lot of it to the priority schools, and also that we're going to referendum in February 24th. So that information is there, and we've been very transparent about it, and I'm very proud of our system and the staff that I have, that we've tried to be as transparent as possible with all that we're trying to do. So there's just some things that are going on in red clay. I know the priority school is always a big issue, and we're meeting with parents and community members, and a lot of support from the Urban League, Children Family First,
yes,
the Moores, and the city council's been very supportive. I just think we have a lot of people that really want to see our kids be successful.
Well, I tell you, I mean, it's very exciting things that you're doing. I think, one of the things that's impressive is your leadership.
Well, thank you.
And I think, sometimes people look at leadership as being stern. It's not that. It's about being a good listener. And you treat people with respect. They work harder. They become very productive. And I don't just say that because you're on the show. And I think all of the superintendents, have some unique things that they do. But you're here, and I think we need to give you your props. And you're doing a great job.
Well, thank you.
And I think that's something that, we need to get out there. What do you think your chances, as far as percentage-wise, of the state board approving your
Well, I think
plan?
the first thing is we've submitted a draft, and we're waiting for the feedback, and then our Board of Education will be voting on the plan on the 21st. On the 15th of this month, we have a workshop scheduled. It's been posted at Warner at 6:30. But we really want to be open about it, let people know about it.
Right.
And like I said, really strong, dedicated people who work in red clay and who have been involved, as well as the parents have been really dedicated on the committees. To really let's keep the focus. There's a lot of outside noise that we get lobbed in on us, and to keep everybody focused, I think they've done a good job. And I'm very confident that the plans that have been developed are going to be approved. I don't think there's an issue with what we want to try to do. I think we have a proven track record through that last round of PZ schools, that if you give us the time and the resources, and that's why I think what's going to come out of this has been very strong with Mr. Street, Jay Street, when he has been really promoting, and you have as well, promoting needs funding. And it's interesting, I hear more and more about it now than I've ever had, that people are starting to get the idea that additional funding is needed to offer the support that's needed for our young men and women to close that achievement gap. And so I'm very hopeful that occurs in this legislative session, because just to have plans doesn't mean it's going to be successful. To have plans with resources and dedicated staff and strong leadership in the schools, I think does say we have an opportunity to be successful. And I think we need the opportunity. And then it's up to the educators in the buildings to really do their job to make sure it works.
Well, I think one of the things we can't go without, making clear that we're extremely proud of the various teams that were developed to work on your priority plans, your teachers,
Absolutely.
your parents, your community activists, other educators, and lay people, pastors and so forth, who formulated those teams. That were actually, I've had a couple people to tell me how impressed they were with what was going on in all of the two districts in terms of Red Clay and Christina.
Absolutely.
About getting the right people around the table, the organizational structure in terms of what they were doing at the meetings, how they gathered all that data, and particularly for your district. I just think I've heard many great things about that. So I just think that we need to give kudos to the teachers and the directors and so forth who helped put those teams together and let them work in the various groups in either Warner or wherever you guys had your meetings.
And I appreciate that. A lot of things that have been occurring. I mean, from our Board of Education to our associations. I mean, people are really digging deep into the plans.
Yes.
But we may not agree on everything that's going on.
Absolutely.
But I think everybody at the table really wants us to see the benefit of our children.
That's correct.
And as long as we can keep that focus, I think we're going to be successful. But we've had a lot of support from the community as well. And like I said, not everybody's agreeing with everything we want to do. Mm-hmm. But as long as we can keep everybody focused on where we want to go, I think we have a great opportunity. And
Well,
I appreciate it.
I appreciate it too, and I'm delighted that you took the time to come on our show.
Thank you.
I know you got some other things you're going to do tonight. See, people don't know about being a superintendent, what it takes.
We're getting ready for weather tomorrow.
Absolutely, absolutely. We wish you well with that. And Ms. Pritchett or Michael, you have any closing thoughts on some things?
No.
Well, I'd like to say once again, Doc, it's an honor to be on the program tonight. I plan to be off camera, but hey, listen, it's sometimes it's just something that you want to be a part of.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Daugherty, it's always a pleasure to see you, my good friend. Yes, and just to dovetail and to piggyback on the things that have been discussed here tonight and how important it is.
Yes.
First and foremost to the children. That those individuals are our main focus.
Yes.
How can we support them? How can we raise them up, to a level where they will be successful in their life? And certain groups of people may have particular challenges.
Right.
And it's very encouraging to know that someone has their finger on the pulse as it relates to that. And if I could just touch on some personal experience.
Yes.
Growing up in the city of Wilmington, being involved in the public school system as a student, Red Clay School District as a student. I first attended Bancroft,
Yes.
I think during the first year of your tenure there,
Yes, that's
when I was
correct.
in the 6th grade, and I
Yes.
stayed through graduation in the 8th grade.
Yes.
What I found at Bancroft was an environment of nurturing. I found an environment of safety, and I found an environment of constructive, positive expectations. And then to cap it off, I found the academic and social competency of the teachers and the administration. Now, I wasn't assessing that on that level as a student, but I was living as a beneficiary of it. So like you said, Doc, it's impressive when you have the leadership, you have the buy-in of the stakeholders, and it's definitely, well positioned to succeed. And the programming that you mentioned, the after-school piece.
Wow.
So important because, a child's mind doesn't stop when the school bell rings.
Absolutely.
It still needs to be fed.
Yes, right.
And it
Right.
needs structure
Yes.
that would be conducive to learning. And sometimes at home, there may not be a sufficient structure
Yep.
that can support the level of guidance that is required. And so when you get these programs, the STEM programs, the Lego programs,
Wow.
the student ambassadors
Right,
programs,
right.
the parent and teacher workshops that you
Yes.
do,
Right.
those are key. Those are key elements
Yes.
in the tool chest. And having the people who are familiar with the policy. See, you have grassroots people such as
Right.
myself. And then you have professionals who are equipped and educated and empowered to address the policy issues. So there needs to be levels to support a collective vision.
Yes.
And once again, just speaking from as a layperson, the programming that, say for instance, you had put in place, which is still applicable today, because
Wow.
there are still students who have special talents.
Yes.
There are students who have academic, gifts.
Right.
Everybody, all the students deserve to be inspired and empowered. You happen to have a program at Bancroft back in the day for the artistic students.
Yes,
And you provided scholarships by working with the Delaware Art Museum.
yes.
That was key, but I said to myself, how did they know that this is what I wanted to do? I was like, y'all had a crystal ball, but what you had been doing was you were watching the performance, you were talking to the parents, unbeknownst to the student, which I think is an organic relationship.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the
yeah.
students is dependent.
Yes.
There's a reason why we're called
Absolutely,
dependents.
absolutely.
So you sent me to that Delaware Art Museum.
Yeah.
And I started to see my
Put
dream.
you in the taxi.
You did. A taxi used to come up to the school, Dr. Daugherty. And then the next thing I knew, I began to learn at a higher level. And then I said, wow, I wonder how far this could go. And I started winning statewide contests
Yeah, I
for
remember
art. Second place as a sixth grader, where first place went to a senior. You know, and then being selected to the first governor's school for excellence, you know, in 1980 or 79. Winning scholarships to go to this camp and that camp, and still be able to participate as a student athlete, you know. And this is as my grades progressed. And I said, wow. And ultimately attending and graduating from the Art Institute of Philadelphia. There was a consistency I would not have been able to do by myself. My parents were not able to do by themselves because they had to work all the time. They had 4 kids, you know, and if you're on a state salary and you got 4 kids, you got to work, single mother, you know. So having the support, and I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but I'm very passionate about this, and I'm very excited because I recognize some of the machineries and mechanisms that are being put in place, and I know they work. I know too many city kids like myself, or such as I, who may have been counted out by those who were just looking at face value, living on the east side in Bethel Villa, maybe not hanging with choir boys. Mm-hmm. You know, they would have written me off, maybe having a little temper problem. They would have said, oh, he's difficult to work with. Mm-hmm. And some people still see me that way, but at the same time, it's the heart. And you have to have someone who can appreciate and touch these children's hearts, because you can't get the mind if you don't have the heart.
And Mike, thanks for bringing that up, because we've seen that with ambassadors, Bricks for Kids. We did the first Lego competition where we did on a Saturday, where we started with the elementary students. And I think the expectations where we set them, but what happened was that every parent dedicated themselves to show up, every child, and they were working on, remember, they were working on how to make a building accessible for students who were handicapped.
Yeah,
correct.
And the things that they came up with were they just blew our minds, because of the creativity that everybody in the room said, I would have never thought of that. And they said, well, here's how this works. And they were able to solve a problem.
Yep.
And these guys were 4th and 5th graders, which said,
Exactly.
wow, this is working.
Yeah.
And it was a great opportunity. That ideas that they were coming up with, nobody in the room, the people
Right.
from UOD and from the NASA people, they said, we would have never thought of that.
Exactly.
And I think that's the proven point of what happens when you continue to have these after-school programs that really excite kids in learning.
Yeah, because it goes from asking why me to why not me.